Ben Higgins, Steve,
He's available.
will he start?
Yes.
Minutes restriction?
No.
Really, Russ could be just the second player ever to lead the league in scoring one year and then assists the next year. Just your thoughts on his ability to adapt to this and not only do that, but flourish.
He's rare because I've always said it, about Russell. He's one of the few guys in the league that can dominate a game without ever shooting the basketball. And for him, reading the game, there are times where certainly he's more than capable of being an explosive scorer. And he's also a guy, too, that can really impact the game by playing a great floor game, by playing defense and getting others involved and penetrating and kicking. So I think it speaks to, his overall, really dominance as a player in a lot of respects to just different ways he has impact on games. Same thing with the rebounding. He can impact the game in a lot of different ways.
We've seen Corey Brewer's impact on the court. What is he like in terms of how he impacts the people around him, just in terms of his professionalism and how he carries himself?
He seems like he's fitting very well. Guys seem to like him. He's a personal guy. The guys have done a good job welcoming him and making him feel comfortable. I think more time that goes by, the more comfortable he will be with the group. But he's, I think, fitting very, very well from a personality standpoint.
When you bring in a new guy in the middle of the season, you had Taj last year and some other guys too. Do you have to kind of ease them in terms of going hard on them in film sessions and that kind of stuff to get personality? And if that's the case, does it help that you already have that long running rapport with Corey that you don't have to go through that?
Yeah, I think in film or in coaching or any of those other things, there's going to be some things that Corey just doesn't know because he hasn't been here long enough. And you try to get the meat of what you want him to know in. But there's finer details that he's picking up as we go on. I think you have to point those things out, even though he may not have a knowledge of, oh, I didn't know that, or okay, I understand now. Yeah, I think you have to do that for any player, just to give them an understanding. I've always, felt like film sessions are never ever, about, necessarily degrading anybody. It's more teaching, and I think them seeing themselves on film gives a lot of times a different perspective of things that we need to do collectively as a group and things that a particular individual player needs to do to help our group.
Really, was Corey funny in college? Was he a funny?
Oh yeah, he's got a good personality. Yeah, he's got a good sense of humor. He's got a good personality, very much so.
Mike D'Antoni called him one of the funniest guys ever, which is that's a pretty bold statement. Was he? Is he good for a team in that way? In what ways is he kind of funny?
He just got a really, really good personality. He's always upbeat, always a smile on his face. He likes to laugh and joke around. I think the second day here, he was giving the rest of the team all my lines in recruiting him, things like that. So he's got a really, really good personality, quick-witted. But he's an enjoyable. I'd say his personality is a lot like his game. He's got an upbeat personality. He's got some enthusiasm about him. But yeah, he's a good sense of humor.
What were your lines in recruiting?
I don't know. He told me there was a small forward. I don't remember it so long. He told me there was a small forward it was a small forward in our program that I was telling him that was a power forward. And then he said that when the first day of practice, he had him at the small. I played him at the small forward spot. So he was giving me a hard time and telling those guys the story.
How far away is Terrance Ferguson from being able to play? Do you have any idea?
He's back now. He's cleared tonight.
He's cleared.
Yeah, and I think for both of those guys, Stephen and Terrance, they're cleared to play. But the biggest thing is just to see how both of them are responding. Stephen's in there, he's not feeling great while he's playing, then we'll make a decision from there. And the medical staff will help me with that during the course of the game. But both guys are cleared to play, but we'll see how they respond once they're out there.
I believe this is a random question, but how much emphasis do you put on winning the opening tip?
We talk about it, trying to get it. I think Stephen's done a really, really good job in that area. There's been some games we've lost it. I think we may have lost to San Antonio the other night. But we'd like to get the ball to start and try to get off to a good start. So we emphasize it. Stephen, I think, understands the importance of trying to go up and get the tip to start the game.
That's the reason I ask is because Stephen seems kind of a lead at it. Is that something you
Yes.
practice?
We talk about it. I think the biggest thing is we've had some guys here in the past from a video standpoint that have, in a lot of ways, I think, knowing what the official is, who's throwing the ball up, how he tosses the ball. Everybody's a little bit different from that perspective. What's the quickest way to jump? Some guys like keeping their hands like by their side to kind of gather themselves. Sometimes that takes a little bit of a longer time. So I think Steven has studied and done a good job of figuring out what's the best way for him to get off his feet quickly. I think if you notice that when he starts the tip, he always starts with his arm up in the air, because I think he feels like he can extend better that way. But there's certain guys that come in and they wait, and there's certain guys just kind of come in and throw the ball right up. And I think you have to, understand and be ready in that situation. But I think Steven's done a good job on his part. Again, he's probably received a toss from every official in the league, so you get a familiarity and you get comfortable with different referees and how they're throwing the ball up.
Can you study that? Like Ken Maurer throws it like from the
Yeah,
side.
yeah,
Can you,
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
watch film on
Mhm.
that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have guys that do that, and everybody's a little bit, like I said, every official's a little different. So some officials just kind of come right in the center circle, just throw the thing up right away. And if you're not ready, you're gonna lose the tip. There's other guys that they come in there and they set, they make sure they're ready, and they kind of wait for a second, and they throw it up. And I think like anything else, players have routines. I think officials have routines too. So there's no necessarily trying to steal the tap or anything along those lines. It's how do we best get an advantage in those situations on jump balls that we can one, be in a position where we're shielding players off, be in a position that we're almost like boxing out, Steven tipping the ball to certain areas of the floor. Like, I think those things become important.
Billy, I know you'd like to. Go ahead.
I was going to say, have you noticed when you do win the opening tip, the routine that Mello and Russell?
The rolling of the ball?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this?
Yes.
Barry Trammell claims that it's a travel when Russ picks it up. Do you see it that way? When
I don't
Russ
think
picks
so.
it up and jumps it.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I think, it's interesting. Like, we watch different things during the coaches' meetings, and there's different films and videos that are sent. And I think the league does a good job of just trying to keep us up to speed of what officials are looking for, what needs to be called, and showing travels and those kind of things. There was a couple of clips they showed, like on some jump balls, where there was like no harm, no foul, and somebody traveled. But like, it's just the randomness of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's other, I think, travels that need to be called where the offensive players are clearly gained an advantage.
I'm just going to ask you, I know you've wanted to play better kind of as a whole, but coming into this game, you guys are 4th in the NBA since December 1st in terms of your record. Do you put any stock into how you've played overall and what your record has been since that kind of initial start, that 8-12 start?
Yeah, I mean, you play different teams, they pose different challenges. I think for us, the biggest thing is we've played 2 games here in a row that I feel like there was a level of consistency of play from start to finish. Not to say that we were perfect, not to say that we didn't have some lulls, but we didn't, I think, have situations where we had a really bad quarter or long, really poor stretches. And it was 2 games. I mean, we got to fight for that. That takes a lot of energy and focus and concentration to be able to play at that level. And we need to, as we come down the last month of the season, be able to play at that level. So what's happened in the past, these games, there's a lot to learn from. There's a lot to take from those games. But the record since December really doesn't really have any bearing on today. What are we going to do today? How much better have we gotten? Have we improved? Can we have a sustained level of stamina on both ends of the floor to play to an identity and style that we want to play to?
Anybody else? Thank you.